Thank you. Have your attention, please, and some quiet in the room so we can proceed with our business. First item up this afternoon, we have a public hearing at 5 o'clock, scheduled between 5 and 5:15. And this public hearing is regard to the amendments to the water supply or septic upgrade lending program bylaw for the municipality of Victoria County, which in essence is the PACE program. And we want to increase that amount because the increases in providing water supply or upgrades and sewage system upgrades, the cost is up considerably. So we're going to allow that the lending amount go up from $10,000 to $20,000. So we first need a motion to open the public hearing. So can we have a motion from council? Moved by the deputy warden, seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. So I'm just going to read what the document says just for those that are here this afternoon. Please take notice. The Council of the Municipality of Victoria County is holding a public hearing on amendments to the water supply or septic upgrade lending program bylaw at the regular council meeting to be held at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 in the council chambers at 495 Chebucto Street, Baddeck. The object of this public hearing is to hear from the public before amendments to the water supply or septic upgrade lending bylaw goes to a second reading. Copies of the amendments to the water supply or septic lending program bylaw may be inspected by interested persons at the courthouse, 495 Chebucto Street, Baddeck, between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30, Monday to Friday, excluding Saturdays and holidays, or by visiting the county website at victoriacounty.com, government/bylaws/. So is there anybody here that wishes to speak against the bylaw? Anyone here wish to speak against the bylaw? And third and final time, anybody here to speak against the bylaw? Hearing none. Is there anybody here to speak in favor of the bylaw? Anyone here to speak in favor of the bylaw? Anyone here to speak in favor of the bylaw? So having input on neither, we would like to have a motion to send this to second reading.
Got a motion?
Moved by Councillor McNeil. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Second by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We'll move it. Now we need a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. Seconded by Councillor Organ. All in favor? Contrary minded? Public hearing is closed. We'll reconvene council at 5:15.
Okay, so
Council session to order, please. Ask everyone to take their seats, please. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our visitors this afternoon in the gallery. We welcome you to our council meeting. So we're going to call the Victoria County Council meeting for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 to order. And just prior to that, we would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in Unama'ki, one of the 7 traditional districts of the Mi'kmaq and ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So the agenda, I just should also mention too, just prior to coming in, that I should have mentioned it during the public hearing that Councillor McDonald is not available this evening due to illness and he will not be attending. So we'll just note that in the minutes, please. And he sent his regrets earlier today. So the agenda has been circulated to you prior to the meeting. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Yes, Councillor. Ron?
The Aiden Camp and the Cape Breton Bible Camp. The
Okay.
Aiden Foundation and the Cape Breton Bible Camp.
Okay, we will add them under the motion section of today's agenda.
Thank you.
Any other additions or deletions to today? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the agenda with the noted additions? Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor McNeil, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. The agenda is approved. Just remind council tonight that we have some folks with us in the room, and our last meeting there was some comments that they had difficulty hearing. So if you are addressing most people or anybody in towards the back of the room, please try to project your voice in that direction. And those of us that are kind of low talkers, I would ask you to just raise your voice a little bit so everybody can hear. And if you can't hear, just let us know and we'll make sure that we make the changes as necessary. So with that, our first presentation tonight is from the North Shore District Fire Department, and we have Drew Davidson and Fire Chief and Deputy Chief Sheldon Ferguson. I'm sorry, did we approve the agenda? We need a motion to do that. All in favor of, we did that, did we not? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we did. That was moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Paul. Yeah. Welcome, gentlemen. And you have a presentation you're going to take through, so we'll have you go through your presentation, then we'll open it for any questions or comments, and we've allocated about 20 minutes per presentation, so we will start this evening. So your mic, as long as it's got a green button, you're good to go. If it's a red button, it's either dead or you need to turn it on. And again, I would ask you, because we have people behind you, if you can speak clearly and loudly so they can pick up as well. You good? Thank you.
Afternoon, Council. Thank you for having us today. As introduced, my name is Drew Davidson. I'm the Fire Chief of North Shore and District Fire Department. With me is the Deputy Chief, Sheldon Ferguson. We're here today to make a proposal for a piece of property. The North Shore and District Volunteer Fire Department has been in existence since 1962. We serve an area from Rear North Gut to the top of Cape Smoky, and then also down to Jersey Cove side of Englishtown Ferry. We also host the St. Anne's Community Health Center within our hall. We are here today to ask for a piece of land for a new apparatus station. We are looking for a new apparatus station due to the inability for us currently to fit all of our apparatus on site at our current station. We are only able to house 3 of our 5 apparatus in our main hall. The land we currently have is not large enough to fit a new building or expand the current facilities we have. At times when we have community events, because our hall is rented to the community for funerals, birthdays, parties, and other functions, we do have some limited egress and access. We would like to maintain our current facility so that we can improve the community use, allowing all of the different groups to utilize our hall. We are also one of Victoria County's comfort stations. Fire apparatus over the years has increased in size. Our building has been renovated 4 times since we originally acquired it in 1962. It was a former school site when we acquired it, and currently we have outgrown it in terms of fire apparatus housing. Engine 3 is the largest apparatus we are able to house at our current station. When we park the apparatus in our bay, we have about 1-inch clearance from the bottom of our garage door to pull through. If our apparatus is not filled with water, we are not able to park it in our station. As you can see from the photo, we also are maxed out on our length and width at our current station. So the apparatus that was shown in that photo is the one on the left, which is a 1995 at 27.5 feet long and 9'1" high. Our auxiliary engine is a 2005 and it is 34.5 feet long at 9'10". So there is no way we're able to fit it into our hall. Our rescue vehicle also is not able to fit in our hall. Ideally, we would like to have this centrally located as it houses most of our equipment that we need on most calls. Any future apparatus we will acquire are going to be larger than what we currently have due to the changes in modern manufacturing and industry standards. What we would like to propose is to take possession of the municipal piece of property located at 4643 Cabot Trail in North Shore. It's the old elementary school site, which was the school that was opened after the current site we were used was closed. The proposed site already has a cement pad on it, well and septic, and this would help reduce the cost to us for building a new apparatus station. As this would be our main apparatus station, it would be centrally located to our 2 substations that we operate at the far ends of our district. From the top of Cape Smoky to the Englishtown Ferry, which is our most active section of highway, is a 40-kilometer stretch. The distance from the proposed site to our North River substation is 20 kilometers. Top of Cape Smoky is 22, and then to the Englishtown Ferry is 17.5. And as you can see, that puts us almost ideally in the center of our district. Are there any questions on the proposal?
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service, both of you, to your communities and to the municipality. So we will open it to questions and just look around. Does anyone have any questions for either of the officers? Deputy Warden.
Remember being in a speech, volunteer fire department, the lack of water that you have there and the apparatus that you need. You don't have a major tanker because you don't have a place to put it. So you're looking at a bigger tank for, I think, the 2005 apparatus. Right now, if you were to have a structure fire, English Beach has to respond. Doesn't have to, but through mutual aid, we'll respond with our tanker because when they get to a fire, they don't have any fire hydrants. They have to draft out of a brook or whatever. So we back them up with our tanker in order to have enough water on scene at the time. So I totally agree, which is that you do need a bigger building. You do need a bigger apparatus, but by the time we get to you, it's going to be too late, most likely. But I do, appreciate you coming forward. And I think I'm definitely in favor of that piece of land. I think it's an excellent use for it. But again, I'll leave it up to council. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Patterson?
Thank you, Warden. And following the Deputy Warden's comments, how many number of years ago we acquired that property? I'm not sure, it's 20 some years ago, probably, or 15 or more. And we just acquired it because we didn't know what future needs would be. I don't know. If we didn't acquire it, I don't think as an investment. We acquired it as a piece of property that could be used by the municipality or whatever organizations might be interested. So I think we should probably just get some more information, maybe possible. Look at more information required, and then make a decision whether we would turn the property over.
So just a little history on it. It was the former North Shore School property, and when the school closed, the property was divested back to the municipality. I believe that's the way it works. So it's also a waterfront property, and we had a policy to retain any properties that we came into possession. If they were waterfront, we would maintain them. So that would be a bit of an issue for us as well. Something we could look at and discuss, I'm sure. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
And bring up, and it was a waterfront property. I'm just wondering if the property is big enough to be subdivided, so we keep the water frontage. And of course, if we were to hand it over to the North Shore Volunteer Fire Department, we would also have first refusal. If there was I really don't think there's more information that if we own the land, I don't see what other information is going to come forward. And again, the waterfront's the only issue I have, and if it could be subdivided, that we keep the waterfront, and probably would provide enough land for them for their thing. That's my thoughts on it.
Or potentially, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
Thanks for the great presentation. I also agree that it would be a great use for the property because it certainly is something that's going to be good for all of the community to have fire trucks there. And we also spoke at my councillor session about that the rest of the property, there is a trail that's not kept up right now that goes around the property, and that was as possibly another use that the community could make of it. Maybe have picnic tables, maybe even a washroom someday. So I'm in full. I fully agree with that myself.
You have a comment?
As Councillor Longbow had mentioned, we had a discussion. We are not opposed to sharing the property by any means. Currently, we also house the community gathering place in behind our fire hall. That was funded by a grant from the municipality for them to put in for community use. So we already are happily sharing our property, and any future sharing would continue on. Obviously, we'd have no problem with.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else, any questions or comments? I go ahead.
Obviously, a new fire department is needed in the area, and what you have is insufficient for what you have. So, no, I support them.
So I think our go forward tonight would be just to look into either, and I would just offer this as an option, so we don't have to come back. You don't have to come back, either lease and or giving the property, maybe either or, just depending what the legalities are. Would you be interested in a lease if it was very cheap, so to speak, as opposed to?
We wouldn't be opposed to a lease whatsoever. Currently, the property that we're at reverts to the municipality if we no longer are able to use it. So we are perfectly fine with.
And for us, it's whether or not it's contravenes the policy that we currently have on the books, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say that if we probably refer to the CAO and staff to come back with a report, and I would suggest that whoever the contact person would be with your department to sit down with CAO so that we're both clear on what your ask is and what the expectation from the municipality would be. But I think you'll be fully supported. I drove by your fire department the other day and I saw the truck parked outside. Doesn't fit. And it just looks, yeah, it just doesn't look appropriate as well. So in the point.
Well, we appreciate your guys' everyone's consideration, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
And I think just to find notice that we should have a motion saying yes, the fire department be contact the CAO to work out the details of potential use of that property.
I make a motion that the CAO get together with the fire chief and to discuss the future use of the North Shore School property.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by
Second.
Councillor Patterson, all in favor?
All right.
And to remind it, motion is carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you
Thanks
very much,
again.
council, for your consideration.
Next item up to on our agenda tonight, we have the Chair of the Village Commission, Jennifer McDonald. Jennifer, you want to come forward, please? And Roman is with you as well. Welcome to council. So you have forwarded us the intent of your presentation tonight. We received it. We've allocated 20 minutes there.
Yeah,
Are we good with that? So would you want to do your presentation?
Sure.
We
So
have seen it, so we want to go one by one and just keep track of the time. Is that
I'll
work
keep
for
track
you?
of the time. Yeah, sure. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge I appreciate the shift in the building. I think that this is a much better setup. So whoever came up with this, I appreciate the change in the screen. I think it's really effective. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you today because we've done that twice. And so I didn't want to belabor any of those informational pieces that we've already shared with council. So I'm hoping that this can be more conversational. At the meeting last month, the options that were presented admittedly took the commission and I think folks in the audience by surprise, because when we had been here at the meeting in June, those proposals were not on the table, and we had conversations around, I believe it was Councillor McDonald who had come to the table and said, it makes logical sense that we deliver that 115 ask for the engineering study, and then that we commit to the 70,000 over the next 3 years. We commit to the first year and allow the new incoming council to vote on the next 2 years. So that was sort of the conversation that was had. And I'm sure you all remember that. And so the option that was presented was not what we had expected, and there hadn't been any communication around that. So I guess my question for councilors tonight is if you could give us some of the information around how you came to that decision, and then perhaps we can provide any supplementary information that might be helpful, because we are not satisfied with that decision, but we would like to understand better because it was a relatively quick decision that was made at the last meeting. So if we could have a little bit more information around how you came to your decision, that would be really helpful for us in terms of presenting things in the future and in terms of reassessing or reevaluating and responding to your offer. So my ask would be that perhaps councilors could provide us with the way in which they came to the decision, the information that influenced the decision for the $50,000 grant with the loan on top.
Yeah, so I would say this to you, just in those regards. I think that night, you're right, in June, we had the discussion. It was a discussion. There were no motions made about the financial parts. So, and that would be a big ask and quite, and you can appreciate as being chair of the village commission, you just don't write a check for
Absolutely.
$210,000 and say, it's great. So it was the start of the conversation. I think at the end of that meeting, we asked that we refer it to staff to take a look and come back with some options. And although you're referencing one option, there were 3 options that were made available to you that night. So
to you, not to us that night, but to you
Pardon
that
me?
night, made available to council that night. Yeah.
So and we offered those three options were there for discussion, and we asked council to vote on what one they liked of the 3, and 6 of 7 opted for the one that was offered to you. So that's kind of where we're at, to be quite frank. What further explanation
So I
do you
think
need?
the question is, because we have lots of information at the village around why we made that particular ask. And so part of my question to council is, was the decision made because your budget has already been passed and it was a large ask that was outside of a budgetary discussion? Is that how you came to the decision? Is it that the water and wastewater infrastructure in the village is not a municipal priority? Is it that you feel those costs are operational and should be covered by the water rate? Because all of that, if those are how, if that's how you came to your decision, then there's information that we can provide that perhaps might influence that decision.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Yeah,
What
no,
was,
and-
how did you come to the
yeah,
decision?
so-
What information led you to that being the best solution?
So I'm going to give you an answer, and I'm going to give you a couple of observations. It's strictly
That'd be-
my observation.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that's what I'm
So,
asking.
in fairness to you, and good, I'm glad we're having the conversation. So I would say one is, yes, the ask was out after we had pretty well closed our books.
Okay.
So, and that, having said that, but I will tell you, as chair, is that we were also somewhat confused about, we were talking water, we were talking sewer, we were talking different projects. We didn't have any documentation. In fairness to you, you come in and you said it's $250,000 based on an engineering study. We have not seen the engineering study. If we were going to take a serious look at a proposal, there's background information that we would require. And if you were willing to provide that, then that's something that you could potentially bring back to council if that's what council decides. But we have to be very clear in, what are you asking for? What is the money going to be used for? If it's an engineering study, does that help? It identifies or solidifies what the issues you have, but does that remedy the issue? So we need more of a long-term vision on that as well. Does that
That's
answer your
great.
question?
That's helpful.
So, in fairness, and it was a big ask. It happened afterwards. The village has gone through, and you've heard, and I've said it to you many times, we know you inherited a lot of challenges. And councillors vote independently or based on what they feel is best for their residents. And those decisions were made independently
Sure.
of that. So does that help?
It does. Yeah, that helps. And I think, I don't know if you want me to respond to each individual counselor or if there's other counselors who want to speak to how they made their decision, and then I can respond as a whole. I don't know, Warden, how you want me to.
Well, I'll perhaps what I'll suggest is, if there are counselors that want to respond, I'm more, because I'm only speaking for
Exactly. You're
right
speaking
now
for
it's
yourself.
District
Yes,
3.
District 3.
And I supported what you had asked for, but
Right.
that's the way democracy works. Not everybody was in agreement. So with that, if there are, and I just want to keep in mind that we are keeping track of the time as
Sure.
well. And to your point, I don't want to go down rabbit holes we've already been down, because
Okay.
that's not going to solve anything.
Right. So maybe just a quick, this is how I personally came to the decision
Sure.
for my
And
district.
that's a fair
That would be
question.
really
And if the
helpful.
council
And we
wishes
can
to answer that.
respond as a whole.
So
It was quite easy, my decision. Number one, it wasn't in the budget.
Okay.
Late coming in, but I guess I've been here 16 years. Finally, I got something for Ringanish. It took 16 years. I didn't walk in and say, I want this right away, which Baddeck is actually doing it. We need the money right away. There's lots going on in this area. Like you talked about development, that you're at capacity, you couldn't develop anymore because you didn't have water and septic.
Mhm.
If you look at Perlis District, Jackie's, no one has septic other than Baddeck.
Mhm.
Ringanish will have it.
Mhm.
Fraser, Barbs, they don't have any of that. Most of them don't even have water.
Mhm.
So as a priority, like I looked at a couple of things. Iona is looking for a water extension. Cape North's looking for a water extension. Bay St. Lawrence is looking for water. Perlis District doesn't have any of that stuff. Fraser's District doesn't have any of that stuff. So there's a lot of priorities out there. It's not just Baddeck. And I guess what my residents say to me is, Baddeck's had the advantage for years. They have the system. It's time for other areas to have the same priorities or the same
Okay.
things to come. So this last minute coming up and saying, all of a sudden we need this money. And, I'll be quite honest with you, people in my territory and actually in Barb's territory, and the two today were talking to me about it. They feel that, and it has been mismanaged. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. Things have been mismanaged. There hasn't been the maintenance that should have been done. So it's not an emergency on our part because of the mismanagement over the years. And not that it's not your guy.
No, I
It's
get
a
that.
long-term thing that's happened. But again, there's lots of priorities in this municipality. And, you know, I'm wondering how much development, you said you'd put a moratorium on development.
We
How
have.
many people have requested
Sure.
since it's more, any
Yeah.
moratorium from one of them?
That specific question. And the other thing that came up with both that I think I need to clarify, because I understand budgets and budgetary processes. And again, that's why I felt very strongly at the meeting last month that I needed to speak, even though it wasn't my time to speak. We did make the request to council to have this conversation before the budget passed. There was an email that was sent around in April. There was a meeting that was set. That meeting was canceled by council. You had the information, you had the agenda. I responded and said, we really need to reschedule this meeting before your budget talks. So this was not a late request by the village. This was a request that was not engaged in prior to budget talks. And I can forward you that email if you want to, but I think that's part of our frustration is that we came here, I want to say November. We asked for a meeting to discuss with you what our capital plans would look like. We asked for that to happen prior to budget. That meeting was scheduled. We were prepared, and then it was canceled by, I don't want to say, I'm not sure who it was canceled. The information came to us from Victoria County Council and staff that the meeting would be canceled. And despite our request for it to be rescheduled, it was not.
So I
Budget
just
talks
want to back you up for 2 seconds before
Sure.
that though, because the original request to meet with the village commissioners came from council, came from Councillor McNeil after you had elected a number of new
Right,
representatives.
but here's the problem. It's
just
semantics. We asked
no.
for a meeting.
Yeah,
It was
but let
canceled,
me
and we
just-
didn't get a chance
Let
to
me
make our
just
ask.
finish. Let me just finish that because it falls into what you said. So we asked to meet with you guys, and you couldn't meet during the day, correct? So you asked to meet in
We
the
volunteered.
100%. So we said,
You are paid over $30,000 a year. You are not volunteering.
A meeting, and the only thing that you say, the commissioners, they can't meet in the daytime, only in the evening.
Right.
So you're asking us to, I get paid, but no, it's volunteer and
It's not volunteer, Councilor
so
McCarthy.
I just want,
And the other piece is,
no, but just
we looked into the information around when other councils meet.
share. I want to finish. Just,
CBRM meets in the evenings.
I just want to finish that April 15th.
Sure.
Is 17th. I just want to finish because it's going into what you said. I'm not trying to make an argument here, but I just want to clarify the facts. So we did ask, and then you asked for us to meet, and we were willing to meet with you at 5 o'clock for the exact reason. We're not arguing. Yes, you're volunteers. Yes, we were willing to meet at 5
But you
o'clock.
canceled the meeting and
Yes,
didn't reschedule
but
at our request.
Cancel the meeting because we could not get a quorum because of either illness or people. There was 2 meetings in 1 week, and that week there was illness and there were people away, and that's why those meetings were canceled. So having said that, that's why we didn't meet you. There was no intent of not meeting with you. So, and after we didn't meet, you came to council in May, and here we are today. So that's another one of those, we can argue that point,
We certainly can.
but that's where we're at. And we can't change what happened, but we did that to, our original request came from us. We tried to accommodate. It didn't work either way. You guys didn't like the afternoon. We couldn't schedule in the evening, and that's where we're at. So I don't want to make it a hill to die on. So can we,
But I want to clarify that it was not a late ask. And I think I have a similar response, and I'm speaking for the rest of the commission here and staff, but we never received a request for more information. If you guys needed more information about the breakdown between sewer and water and what the engineering study looked like in order to make your decision, we would have happily provided that to you. But between the presentation that we gave and the decision that was made at council, we were sitting here at the council meeting. We could have provided that information to you prior to you making the decision. If you were wondering about how much of it is water, how much of it is sewer, we were sitting right here. I said to you, like, we would like to have the opportunity to share some more information, to answer some questions, to have a discussion before you make a decision. And to me, those questions should have been asked before you make the decision. And so, and to speak to the Ingonish concerns, I am in support of what is happening in Ingonish. The Village Commission is in support of the wastewater and water infrastructure that is being placed in other districts. We support that. However, what also gets sometimes neglected is that two things. One, residents of the village of Baddeck pay an area rate. They pay more taxes here, if you live within the village limits, than you do outside of the village limits. We manage other things, right? The wharf, the island, all of those things. And so part of my question is the priority water and wastewater infrastructure? Because if the priority is infrastructure that the county owns, we would be willing to have the conversation about divesting of those pieces of infrastructure to the county so that those pieces of infrastructure belong to you. Because the population density in Baddeck is about 320 some per square kilometer. The population density in the county is about 2.2 people per square kilometer.
So I
It
want to
makes
go,
sense
so I
that
want to go back.
infrastructure exists in places where there's high population density.
So I want to go back, your request to ask some of the counselors.
Sure,
So I want to go back to that.
go for
Okay,
it.
so anybody else? Councillor Patterson?
Thank you, Warden. The discussion is good, first of all. This is the first time in my 20 years that I ever remembered the village coming to the council. I could be wrong.
You know,
I'm not-
they've come.
It wasn't very memorable, put it that way. I think from my point of view, one of the things about the first meeting, I think we were being treated like Santa Claus because the list kept going on and on and on of needs of the village and on and on and on of needs of the village. That to me set the whole thing in a different, like, what's the number 2 or number 3 priority? What's the number 1 priority? Because you've got this laundry list of things that need to be done. So that kind of turned me off. Now, I know it's not the village. I know it's the waterfront, but we gave a substantial amount of money to the waterfront for the development of the boardwalk. And you mentioned
4% of the cost of the project is what the county
gave a
contributed.
substantial.
4% of the cost of the
Could I not
project.
be interrupted, please?
Due respect.
Sure. Apologies.
Council gave a substantial amount of money for the waterfront project, is what I'm saying. Finally, and as the warden mentioned earlier, one of the concerns I had at the presentation from the village was I don't know the ins and outs of the budget and so on. So we asked our staff to come back with recommendations. And as the warden mentioned, there were 3 recommendations. I chose number 3 because it would fit your needs as far as I was concerned. It was a loan, but it was spread over 5 years. And it wouldn't affect now whether the budget, the whole discussion, what's passed is passed. Let's forget about when the meeting was called or with the meeting canceled. Forget all that stuff. It doesn't matter anymore. It was after the budget was set that request was made. That's the fact. So protecting our budget as much as we could, I voted for option number 3. Now, the last part you just mentioned about Baddeck pays an area rate, that is true, but I was shocked, absolutely shocked to be told that you're practically getting your water for nothing as compared to Niels Harbor and Iona. $1.38 per cubic meter as opposed to $6.16. We were always told that Baddeck pays a lot, that they pay, they pay their fair share. You're not paying your fair share for water. So you should look at that first. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, and I want to keep my eye on the time, and I'm going to be mutually respectful as far as being able to have time to talk. So you had mentioned you can come back. If you want to come back and meet with council, give us, and if you asked us, you can provide this, I would suggest this. You come back with your ask, clear ask, based on the engineering study, how much you want, what it's for, how much it's going to cost, and the purpose of the study. Because if you can just help me We could fund the study. If we fund the study, it doesn't solve the problem,
No, absolutely not.
right? And that's another.
We know
sticking
that.
point. And I can assure you, and it's been said by several in the room already, and it's from me, the last thing we want to do is stymie development anywhere in Victoria County, especially in Baddeck. And I've spoke with people that want to build houses for necessary needs. And the last thing we want is to have that prevented. So even if we have to be very clear about what the path forward is going to be, and probably as much as you and I can have a conversation here tonight, it's not going to solve anything until we get to that next step.
Sure. I can
Does
see
that-
Councillor McNeil had his hand up, so I don't want to answer until he has a chance
Okay.
to speak.
Again, see, again, like I want to reiterate what Fraser has said. Like our water utility is paying $6.32 per cubic meter now, and a base rate of 160, is it? Now, it's one of the highest in the province. Any development that goes on and we ask for more money for water, that's basically a loan that goes against our water utility. And when the water study happens every 3 years, well, our water rates go up. Well, you're asking for a grant that won't go against your water utility. And people see that within our districts and they're complaining. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's okay, I'll respond to
Yeah.
sort of those both those comments from Councillor Patterson and Councillor McNeil.
And just one extra, in the past, there has been a fair sum of money goes towards the water utility in Baddeck, especially a new well.
Mhm.
And basically it was a grant.
Right.
And it didn't go against your water rates at all. So
Okay.
that has to be looked at too.
Sure. So a couple things, and I'm trying to address everything that comes up. So first of all, in terms of what's our laundry list of asks, what are our priorities? Two things. I do think it's very important to mention that the boardwalk project, the ask that the village came to was less than 4% of the project. So the project is a $2.1 million project, and the investment that the county is making is $75,000.
But
I
but
understand.
that's the amount you asked for.
Which was a very purposeful ask. We asked for less than 4% of the project. We aren't asking the county to fund that project. Less than 4% of a project. I understand $75,000 is a significant amount of money, but I also want to make it clear that we're not expecting the county to bankroll in whole any of these projects. So I think we need to keep those pieces in perspective. The second piece, a two-pronged answer, partly in response to Warden Morrison's comments, and I think as well the comments around the cost of the water in Baddeck compared to the water, say, in Iona or Little Narrows area. We did have a water rate study that we had talked about the last time we were here. Water rates have incrementally increased and will incrementally increase. And it relates to what Warden Morrison said. At the end of the engineering study, when it's identified the upgrades that need to happen or that potentially could or should happen at the water utility, those costs will be shouldered by the ratepayers. But it also becomes a conversation for the village commission that operates that system, whether or not it is in the best interest of the ratepayers and the residents of the village of Baddeck to invest in that infrastructure. Because there are very limited, we don't want to stymie growth either, but we have been elected by the residents of Baddeck. We are responsible to the residents of Baddeck. And so we want to ensure that we have capacity as an operator for the residents of Baddeck. We feel relatively confident that we have the capacity to provide water and sewer hookups for residents in Baddeck because there's limited amounts of empty lots, limited amounts of hookups. Outside of the village limits, to Crescent Grove, to the Irving, and out into sort of Councillor McLeod's district, into where the land transfer station is, we don't have capacity, and we also don't have the mandate to develop or to increase capacity. So when the engineering report comes back, we will have to have a serious conversation with council around whether or not the commission in our operation of the water utility and our ratepayers have any interest in expansion. Because the answer may be no, in which case that will have a significant impact on development outside of the village. The other piece that I think is important in terms of grant funding, since we had our meeting here today, we received a $100,000 grant from the province. That's their maximum PCAP grant allowance for the engineering study. And so the province is on board. We don't want to leave that money on the table. However, that's less than half of the cost of the engineering study. We could likely go back as a commission and have a conversation about whether or not we even need to do the engineering study, because we can keep the moratorium in place. The UARB has indicated to us that the responsibility of the water utility is to protect the current users. There's no responsibility that we have to expand our services. We don't need to provide new hookups. We had clarity from the UARB that we can in fact say, look, we're going to open back up water and sewer hookups within the village. And we're going to keep the moratorium outside of the village. Again, because that speaks to capacity, right? The lot sizes here, the zoning, it's mostly an R1 zone. We can support that. So we have the capacity to make different decisions, but we also want to be responsible, because the water utility and the water infrastructure is municipal infrastructure. It's going to be in Ingonish, it's in Little Narrows and in Iona. And the tax dollars that come into the municipal coffers from the village of Baddeck and outside of the village of Baddeck, those residents who are on the water line and not inside of the village limits, those municipal tax dollars should be coming back to support that infrastructure. So I think that's important to note.
And nobody's arguing that. I mean,
Sure.
you know,
Except the decision didn't
yeah.
reflect that.
Yeah, and in fairness, and I know Leanne has a question, but in fairness, when those lines are extended, and you weren't here at the time, but when those lines were extended, both water and sewer outside the village, it's the village that gave permission for that to happen, rightfully or wrongfully, whether you had capacity or not. But I mean, here we are today trying to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a municipal decision to extend those water and sewer lines, but here we are facing the issues as a result of that. And at the time, somebody should have looked at it and said, do we have the capacity to do this, rather than do the nice thing and say,
Right.
you know, and it was great at the time. But, you know, here we are 15 years later,
Right.
and there are issues with both capacity of the treatment plant and capacity of the water. So I know Leanne has a question, and I want to, everybody else has pretty well had some comments. So you have a question, and then we're going to try wind this up, because I think we can
I
come
would
in.
like to hear from Councillor Longman and Councillor.
Well, they will be given an opportunity, trust me. I'm just going to Leanne first, because I didn't know if they had any questions or not, because when I looked, they didn't have their hand up. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have a question. So you said there was a water rate study done.
In December, yep.
Yep. So based on that, when we do a water rate study, we have to talk about any capital that we are planning on doing, or any studies that large purchases.
Mhm.
So did you let I'm assuming you used Jerry Eisner?
We did, yep.
Yeah. So did you build that into your water rate study?
We did. So
Okay.
that's why we have to do another one within the next 2
So-
years.
so
So we
if
don't
you-
have a capital plan.
So if you've built
Right.
if you've built that into the water rate study, and the water rate study has been approved, that has that already in the water rates, isn't it in effect already paid for by the water rate increase?
Yeah, so because there was no capital plan, we couldn't present a capital plan to the UARB, because we didn't have any information that we could provide to them that gave them a good indication about what our capital plan would look like over the next 3 to 5 years. So in the fall, we're starting that process again. The rates will be going up. We know this, but we need an engineering study in order to figure out what we're up against. Robin, I could hear you wanted to speak to that.
But my comment on that is it's already built into the water rate. The cost of this study is already built into your water rate.
Here, I'll let you.
There's a percentage built in there, but it's not $300,000 the engineering study costs. There's a percentage built in there that's for the water utility, but not for sewer. There's not.
Of course not, because it's a water rate study.
Yep. And so the water, just to clarify too, on sort of like proportions of what are we talking about wastewater and what are we talking about water? And the water is around figures about 30% of the engineering study.
It's less.
A little bit less than 30% of the work that will be done for the engineering study actually relates to water.
So
So
it's already built into your water rates.
that 30%
Yep.
of the 350.
I understand.
So when we went to the UARB, the decision, the public hearing was in December, and we had hoped to get a rate increase for the 2 fiscal years, but because the decision happened in December and it took time, they were only able to give us a decision that allowed us to increase the rate for this fiscal year. So
Yep. Okay.
it's
So,
only a percentage of it built in, and it's
Yep.
only for 30% of that engineering study, because the rest is wastewater,
okay,
which is not governed by the UARB.
right. So you could put your sewer rates up at any time.
We certainly could. Our sewer rate is, and it is significant, and that's on top of the water rate.
Yep.
Um,
Because you own both systems. You own the water and the wastewater.
we do. So
Yep.
when the wastewater system was built, when the new treatment plant was built, that facility was built by the municipality and was then turned over to the village. So the initial capital was municipal capital. It was municipal infrastructure. And so from our perspective, if it needs to be municipal infrastructure for the municipality to invest municipal capital into, we would be happy to engage in that conversation around how that could again become municipal infrastructure. We are also happy to continue to be the operators of that. When something breaks, when there's a sewer line break, that happens, quite frankly, all the time. We don't come to the municipality to ask for support to fix those sewer lines, to deal with the flooding that's happening, to fix the pumping stations. We don't come to the municipality for that. Those operating costs are covered by the village and by the sewer rate.
As ours are within our water utility systems.
Right.
It's
Yep.
Georgia too.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not us.
But
Right.
what we're suggesting is that the county prior to was not in the business of wastewater treatment, but now you are. So if the tax dollars, and rightly so, again, Councillor Daphne, again, like rightly so, those municipal dollars are being spent on wastewater infrastructure in other areas of the municipality. I would suggest, as both a resident and a commissioner, that those tax dollars should also be spent in this region. And we heard loud and clear north of Smoky when we talked about when the council talked about LICs and area rates. It was quite clear that residents stood up and said, no, infrastructure like this, the capital investments need to be shouldered by the entirety of the tax base, right? That was what that was about. And so what's happening here is that you're saying we should be shouldering that capital infrastructure should be shouldered by the village residents.
But the initial infrastructure was
Right.
shouldered by all of the municipality. We gave you that after the.
With a 20-year lifespan,
Yeah.
and that is, it's done.
So
It's-
I want to give,
Saying that all the residents of Victoria County took that into effect.
Absolutely. And I think that infrastructure served the municipality well, but that investment in 2001 gave, and you can look at the information that came out around that funding. It's like, this is great. This is going to support the village for 15 to 20 years. Well, it's 2024. So that
Right.
infrastructure isn't going to support.
right,
anymore.
but, and I don't want to get into the maintenance issues and you know, if it's lack of the condition of the plant, is it a lack of maintenance, which was the responsibility of the village, not the municipality, but, and that's part of the problem that's down there, but you wanted to ask the
Yes,
two
I
other
do.
councillors. So, and again, I want to keep
Thank you for
interest
that.
time, and it's good conversation.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate that
so
comment from.
I want to go to Councillor Longba and Councillor McLeod, and so, and go ahead, Councillor Longba.
Yeah, I came to the decision based on staff because the CAO and the CFO are both accountants and they know a lot more about the finances than I do. If it was me giving out the money, you wouldn't want it. Like the whole county be broke because I'm very generous and I'd be giving everybody money. But I trust their experience as accountants, and so that's why I chose that.
Thanks. Sorry, Councillor Organ, it wasn't a shot at you. It's just because both of these councillors have residents who are in the district. So I want to hear from you too, but
Yeah, we're going to go to Councillor McLeod next.
Okay, so yes, I have a few houses and lines in District 2. I have both. I have they don't have it and they have it. I have both calling me once they say wanted and the 80% they don't have it. So they say why I have to why I have to pay to you for water or give it free money, they call it that way, to you if they have sewer, they have septics and wells. So in the end, go back to again the 2020 meeting when suppose was going to be no village or village, and everybody went there and said we can do it. We're going to have money, and we have our presentation about what happened with the water, how we want to fix it, and everything. And nobody wanted. They decide to go to the other side because the village took over. So in the end, that was the most fair for both the decision.
okay.
And still having phone calls still, they saying it's a waste of money to give it to you because in 2 or 3 years, the village is going to disappear no matter what, and it will be a waste of money for the residents of Victoria County. So I have both sizes. The boys are like a Kathy, they need it, that she's hooked. I live in Hillcrest for 10 years and I have it, but it was for the fair. And like I say, I trust the staff. They know the numbers. They know how much we can give. We know if the interest rate will be fair for everybody. So that was for my decision. And the end, this job is volunteer as well. Not because they give it, we give me a stipend. They will, yeah. But UBCBRM, yeah, it's a job. But this is a volunteer job, 24/7. No mornings or evenings. It's 24/7. They can call me at 3 in the morning because something happened and I have to answer the phone. So don't tell me because they give me money. It's volunteer 24/7.
Okay, thanks for that. So just one quick comment. It's not just CBRM that meets in the evening either. The vast majority, I think it was 86% of councils have meetings in the evening. So
We're in the evenings because we work and sometimes we have to take the day off to work because we have to come here.
us too. We appreciate your service.
And
I'm
we
not
also-
suggesting that you're not providing a service that is
We also-
anybody that puts their name on a ticket for an elected official.
100%.
I
And
appreciate.
some of these councillors have to travel an hour and a half, 2 hours to get here.
Absolutely.
And we try to avoid council meetings in the evening, December, January, February, because,
I get that.
and
However, and again, I don't want to beleaguer the point. Like there was lots of ground between April and when that meeting
No,
could have been.
and we've had that discussion. We're good. I heard you. I hear you.
Yeah.
So I want you, Councillor Organ, you wish to comment?
Thanks for coming again. It's almost like we're hearing the same thing over and over and over again. I agree with the decision that we made because of our CAO and our accountant. I would love to have water and sewer north of Smoky for all of us. My district only has a small little spot that has water, and I thank God every day that we have it because we had horrible water. And for the rates that the rest of us pay, and my constituents cannot believe how little that you pay for water in the village of Baddeck. They're amazed, and they can't understand for that little bit. It should have been going up years ago, and up, you know.
Sure. And yeah.
So that's a hard pill for people to swallow, for us to hand out money without getting something in return for the rest of the constituents because of mismanagement, and I'm sorry that it was mismanaged. But I mean, we're paying, and we have to pay because it's a rule. We have to pay it. So I don't understand why your rates have only gone up that much.
Yeah, so I think water, and again, we have to really differentiate between water and wastewater, because the wastewater rates have gone up significantly over the last, let's say, 10 years, 5 years, more specifically.
Last
3 years. They've tripled, right? And they've tripled because we have the capacity to manage those rates. We as a commission can change those rates tomorrow. We can drop them, we can raise them, we can do whatever we want with them, but we don't have the capacity to do that with water. And in fairness, our water system functions fairly well. We have made some upgrades to the water treatment plant. Operationally, that was factored into our water rate study. And again, I appreciate that there are lots of places in the county that water and sewer are not accessible. I appreciate that. I hear that. I understand that. But again, what I say to you is the population densities in centers like Ingonish, for example, which is getting a wastewater treatment system, in places like Baddeck, where that system serves centrally Alderwood, the hospital, the school, a significant number of the commercial properties, it makes sense that there should be a greater investment in infrastructure that has a larger population density. That is just good municipal planning. So go ahead.
water, small utilities are more expensive than bigger utilities.
We know that.
Because your water lines are longer and bigger, and so and there's less users, right? So your costs aren't shared by as large of a number of users. So our costs get to be spread out amongst the 600 users that we happen to have within a 2.5 kilometer stretch. That's why our rates are low, because our system is contained to a relatively small area with a large population. So here's my closing. I can see Councillor our warden saying, hurry up.
No,
here's my
we,
closing
but
comment.
honestly, we know that. We
I know you do.
we
Here's the
rerun
comment.
services.
Sure.
Just one comment on that too. Like with in a rural area too, the area in Little Narrows, and you know
I
fully
know.
well
My parents live in Little Narrows,
Exactly.
full disclosure. So
that
familiar
since
with
the
the area.
water line went in, well, initially not too many people joined, but now development throughout that area started. So even like in the areas of Red Point that needs water, there's the possibility of development out there too. So you have to look at that too. And they're looking for water. They need water. They all have cisterns. The water out there is no good.
Yeah.
So
And that's our concern, is that we need to be really clear. We, the commission, the utilities, our responsibility is to protect our current users. We will direct our engineering study to protect our current users. Tell us what we need to do to protect our current users living within the village limits. Outside of that, if we don't get municipal funding to contribute to the engineering study to look at capacity outside of the village limits, we have the opportunity to make those decisions to not do it. Because if we can't fund it, we won't do it.
Yep.
And we can't fund it without your support. So
Yep.
It will impact development in the municipality, because if folks out Crescent Grove and folks out the Shore Road don't have access to our systems, you guys, the municipality, are going to have to come up with a solution for that.
Yep.
The village will not.
That's correct, because it's municipal, and
So
we understand.
that our first lifting of the moratorium will be within the village limits.
abs-
We've had 12 requests for new hookups. Our water rate study, the Jerry Eisners of the world, suggested 2 in the next year. We've already had 12, and we've already had 2 that were approved prior to the moratorium. So we know that development is going to be impacted, but to be frank, that's not in our mandate. That's not in our purview, and that's not our responsibility. So we feel that the wastewater and water treatment infrastructure within the village and within the municipality is a municipal responsibility. That's why we came to you asking for that capital funding.
Okay.
And if that's the decision of council, then we will have to go back to the commission table and live with that. The
So
one piece I would also suggest, we would take a loan. If you would like to defer defer to the next budget and say to us, look, we'll give you a loan for the $115,000 that you're asking, and we'll pay off the loan in the next budget year so we can build it into our budget. Great. If it's a budgetary issue, let's deal with the budgetary issue. If it's a priority issue, that's a different conversation.
Just about your gas tax, you have $180,000 there. What are you going to do with that?
Operational and capital upgrades, just like Ward
For
Morrison
the
said.
waterfront?
We know, no, not the waterfront. That will be designated for water and wastewater.
You can use it for operation.
We can use it for capital upgrades that we know are going to come out of our engineering study.
So, okay,
And it will be used within the village limits, to be very clear.
so we clearly heard a number of things, and we appreciate your comments tonight, really, and and we take them for face value, and there's nothing personal about it. We, Let's go back to- yeah, no, so I just, I want to just draw this conversation. Everybody's had their kick at the can. So I just want to be clear of a couple of things and just look, we recognize what you inherited. I've said it before, I said it again, and we can see the frustration that you're dealing with. And we recognize that. So, but at the end of the day, it is a decision at council. You have clearly indicated to us that you would be prepared to bring back the facts, figures, and all the details required, clear about what the costs would be for the engineering study, et cetera, et cetera. It's that we're not, let me finish. Let me finish. Let's not confuse the issue. So we know it's strictly wastewater because water utilities are a separate entity on their own. So for the most part, water is not part of the conversation. The focus would be on wastewater and the issues that you're having and the study that you need. However, it is a decision of council, so I'm just going to ask council, are you prepared to have the village come back with a more clear, concise proposal of how much they want, what it is for? No, but I'm asking council, I'm not asking the commission. So it's a decision of council. And so that's kind of where we've landed. So is it a decision of council to go further with this, or is it a decision of council that you just stay with the original recommendation that was given?
For me, it's the original that we already made a motion and we passed. I'm sticking with that one, mainly because I have to go back to my residents and the residents north and Perlis and whatever, asking the same question. They've been asking for years. So why does Baddeck jump the queue of what's being asked in the other areas all of a sudden? Where am I going to go back to Bay St. Lawrence, Cape Nord, Iona, and tell them that no, we're not doing you guys again because we're putting you off because we're now doing it in Baddeck, where they've been asking for years. So to me, there's a queue there, and you got to jump in the queue.
Okay. And keep in mind, this is the engineering study. It's not a capital project per se. Just anybody else? Councilor Patrick.
Just a final comment on the water rate situation. If I had water, I would be like everybody else. I would get a bill, I would look at it, and probably pay it. I don't know about the UARB, I don't know about water rate studies, I don't know nothing about that. All I know is that Paul McNeil pays a heck of a lot more water for Ocean's water than the residents of Baddeck.
Because of what?
Any other?
I agree with Deputy Warden Daphne.
Sorry, if you want to stay with the original offer.
One other thing to say about the ask. Like, it's well known throughout the county that at budget time, that you have to fill out an application form for what you're asking for before budget talks. Was that application form filled out?
So the grant application form doesn't allow for an ask as big as what we were asking for. So it wouldn't have applied because I think the max is $10,000 on the grant application forms. Is that correct? Yeah. So this was above and beyond. It wouldn't have been considered a grant. We had that conversation.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. So Councillor Longman, Councillor McLeod, do you want to go with the original or do you want them to come back?
Just gonna stick with what the accountants said.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm going to stick with what the accountants said.
Okay, the staff report, item number 3.
So I understand.
So, but the report had 3 different options.
Yes, there was one that was recommended though.
Yes, the one that was voted, the 6 councillors were,
Okay, so suppose this was going to be for return and make more clear the ask, correct? So if we're going to go for the sewer, so for me, I would like more information in where you're going to spend the money and how you're going to spend the money for that. That doesn't mean that I'm agree with the third, because as I say, for me, it's half of my residents, they're half and half, and for me, it's the fair share. But if there's an opportunity to see, I would like, after all this discussion, to see exactly, how you're going to spend the money.
thank you. And as far as I voted to support the funding, and I haven't changed that. My only question is, and you kind of alluded to it, so I need a little clarification around. So are you telling me that you made reference to accepting the loan or not, or?
No, we are not making reference to accepting the loan, but my suggestion was like, if the initial ask was outside of this budget year, perhaps you could consider a loan that would on the part of council so that it could then be included in next year's capital budget. I did just want to make one request then.
No, I'm a little, does that make sense? Did you follow that? I'm not, finance is not my strength.
So I believe what she's asking is you lend it to them now and then grant it to them next year.
Yes.
But
I'm not, that's not a formal ask. That's just one of, and again, I think part of what Councillor Patterson had said and in appreciating the discussion, I deeply appreciate this discussion as well. And I had hoped that this discussion would happen before we ask the question. So we can certainly provide any answers to any questions that councillors and staff may have around specifics of the study, percentages, designations, numbers down to the nickels and dimes. We can provide that. And in return, I think the Village Commission would also like to have some documentation around how the approximately $1.4 million in municipal taxes that are collected from the Village of Baddeck residents are being spent in the county. That would be very helpful for us as well, because it's important for us to know that Baddeck residents, who are also residents and municipal taxpayers, how their municipal tax dollars are being spent this fiscal year. So we'd be very interested in knowing from a resident and a commission perspective, what's happening with those $1.4 million that are coming out of village residents who happen to live in the village, who are also paying municipal taxes. So if you could provide for us where those $1.4 million are going, and that's an approximate amount, that's an estimation of where our tax dollars sit, that would be greatly appreciated.
So I understand you will be agree with this, our option, like a 50,000?
No, we're not in agreement with that option.
So so what you want? So what you want? Like you want the money with a loan with no interest, a loan with interest?
We would like
what
to,
you want?
so here's what, we don't feel like we're ready to have another ask because there are still questions on the table. We need to know, is it a priority? Is wastewater and water infrastructure a priority for the county?
No, but
Is
it's too easy. It's just to say how much you want.
We want
How you want-
$115,000
You want
for
with
the engineering
interest,
study.
with interest, no interest, free money, or with no charge,
Commissioner McLeod,
because
it's
I
not
have-
free money. It is taxpayers'
it is,
dollars.
it's
It's taxpayers' dollars that go
It is,
into the
but it's
municipal
for the
coffers.
village, okay? It's
No,
a
it's for
water
the county.
village. It's
We
not.
also live in the county.
It is, and for the taxes that you say, how the village people spend the money in education and police and transfer station and all that is clear in the website, and Alex could give you all the information
But
about
those
it.
things
But
apply
I'm-
to everyone, and the LIC was voted down significantly.
No, we just, because it's not only the village living here, we have 8 districts where the people they don't use your water, and I have to,
We're not asking you to pay the water rate. We're not asking you to pay consumption.
You
We're not
are
asking you to pay
give
base
it to
rate.
you to
For
build.
capital
for a
infrastructure
capital
to support the
infrastructure.
school, the water, the school, the hospital,
Well, the
Alderwood.
school, the hospital, and all that is in taxes from the residents,
Oh.
but.
Right,
you
but we
different-
don't have infrastructure Alderwood, for example, is outside of the village
That
limits.
is correct.
That is
Okay.
a municipal responsibility that relies on that municipal infrastructure to support that municipal service.
Right, but
And if the problem is that we are
Yeah.
operating those facilities,
We-
we will happily have the
Right.
discussion at the commission table to turn those facilities
so,
over to the
Yeah.
county.
And-
That is a happy conversation.
and to your point, and we're going to end it here, but to your point, Madam Chair, is that the village extended their services outside the
We
village.
will no longer be extending
No,
water
and
and
that-
sewer hookup
we-
outside of the commi-
We
of the village.
we understand that. So,
The system that exists
Yep.
belongs to municipal residents as well. We are not a separate entity from the municipality.
see, that's where we're confused.
That long, that if any other study was made throughout the county, the same would be done. Like,
Right, but the interest on the loan doesn't make any sense because that's municipal residents
it's all,
paying interest on a loan for municipal services.
Not our services, though.
It's not
It's
our-
not our
So
system.
I guess my question would be, should we come to the council table with an offer to divest of those two utilities?
So that's a discussion you need to have and then come forward possibly if that's what you're planning.
and
But-
what, and what percentage of the utility is outside of the village
Yeah.
of Baddeck? You tell us what.
The vast majority of new development is outside of the village.
No, I didn't ask that. What percentage of the utility is within the
Sure.
village of Baddeck?
So our largest user of the wastewater treatment,
Yeah.
for example, is Alderwood, and that's outside of the
That's
village.
not the question. What's the percentage? No.
But we can give you that information.
Okay, so let's.
So
break it.
Alderwood is also the largest generator of revenue for you.
Of not
water
tax
revenue.
They don't
Water-
pay village.
Water
tax.
revenue. Water revenue.
Yeah.
So a water system is to be self-sustaining.
Right.
So you are to be setting your rates so that there are no asks outside of the
Correct.
water utility
And here,
customers.
to be clear, CAO McCacken, we will protect our current users, but we will not be investing capital infrastructure money to increase capacity in that system. And so the ask is coming to you one way or the other. And I think the frustration on our part is twofold. One, there's this continued perspective that the village is in, dire straits and deep trouble, and we feel frustrated. Come to a commission meeting. We feel we are forging ahead. We have a clear strategic plan with actionable items that we are working on every single day. The staff is outstanding. We are proceeding with big, exciting projects. We got over $300,000 from the province this year. We are moving in a positive forward direction, but we need cooperation from the municipality. And to be frank, we feel frustrated when we ask for example, 4% of a project. The waterfront, the boardwalk is used by people
Yeah.
way outside of the village limit. And again, we're supporting that infrastructure. When we come with a 4% ask, the fact that that is seen as to the detriment of an ask that we would be making around water and wastewater infrastructures, like that's apples and oranges.
So that ask came, the village, no, but let me finish. Let me just clarify that because it's a little bit misleading. For one thing, the village came or the waterfront committee came and asked for $75,000. We gave them 100% of their ask, not 4% of their project. That's what their ask was.
And I think our concern is we aren't asking for you to support the village in any
And
extra way.
And I think that ask came after we had closed our books as well. So we went above and beyond that, so.
That has nothing to do with water and wastewater infrastructure.
No.
Because we can have the greatest boardwalk in the world, but
We're
if
not-
you turn on the water and it's not safe to
We're
drink.
not talking water. We're taking water off the table because it just confuses the issue. They're separate entities.
So-
They're utilities on their own.
Interested in investing capital or operational money into the water utility in the village.
We're not saying.
What you're asking, you're again saying the water utility. Our understanding when you came here 2 weeks or last month was that you were looking for $250,000 to do the study to cost share the study for the sewage treatment plant and the weight and the infiltration of it. So and this is why things go off the rails, because it's water utility one minute, it's sewer the next. And that's why I asked earlier about what I would have liked was the clarity.
You didn't ask us for any of that
No,
information.
but
We came to the meeting. Channels of communication are open.
But-
If in the course of that
Uh-huh.
staff report and the decisions were asked the question, we were sitting there. We could have had those answers for you.
But if
But you
somebody-
made the decision.
For the
without
most
the
part,
answers.
if somebody is coming here to access funding, they're going to tell us what it's for, how much it is, et cetera, et cetera. It's great.
Information right here. And
Yeah.
I've said to you, like, we can go through it line by line tonight. I have the information.
Yep.
And when I said at the last meeting, like, I hope we can have some discussion before this decision is made, there was no discussion. And to me, that's problematic in terms of governance. That's problematic in terms of decision-making. And so that's my concern.
So I'm
I
not,
appreciate this discussion.
I-
This should have happened last week
Yeah.
or last month, sorry. This
so
conversation.
to your point, problematic, yes, but not 100% on one side or the other. We both wear a portion of it.
We didn't have
so-
the opportunity to speak last time.
Thank you. So we said 20 minutes, we're gone an hour, so my sense is, council, you have decided no further, Councillor McLeod and I were in agreement we were in favor of getting more detail, et cetera, meeting with council, giving us a bit more clear, concise, but my sense is the other 5 that are here tonight are not in favor of doing that. So the question would be, we need a motion to indicate that who is in favor of maintaining the proposal that was voted on and agreed to at the June meeting for $50,000 cash and $150,000 loan at 5%. So am I assuming that how many are still in favor? If you would raise your hand and let me know who's in favor of maintaining that. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 5 that want to maintain that original, and who is opposed? Myself and Councillor McLeod. So that's where our discussion will end tonight.
Because this conversation will continue on the commission. And I do appreciate the discussion. I respect the capacity to agree and disagree and discuss multiple issues. So I appreciate your time and appreciate that you took extra time to have the conversation. And hopefully, we'll continue.
Okay, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Council, please. Sorry if I have to get the gavel. I haven't used the gavel in 20 or 16 years, and so I don't want to start tonight. So we are reconvening council. We are back. We're back. So you've had the meeting, the minutes of the July 22nd meeting of council circulated to you prior to the meeting. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? We're good. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes as circulated? Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Longo. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. We also have the Committee of the Whole meeting for June 18th, 2024. Those minutes have been circulated to you. Any errors or omissions? It's been moved by Councillor McNeil to accept the minutes, approve the minutes of Committee of the Whole, June 18th. We have a seconder, please.
So moved.
Seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Minutes are approved. We're going to move on to the CAO's report that has been circulated to you prior to the meeting as well today.
Yeah, thank you. So you've had this in your package. Just going to highlight a few things. So a couple of things from old business. We're still waiting on a response from the Department of Environment and Climate Change on the water protection zone for the last step of the upland minimum planning standard. So once we get that back, we may not meet our September deadline with the province, but it's the province that we're waiting on to get this information. So once we do get it, we'll bring it to a first reading and then bring it to a second reading. Councillor McLeod had a question on the increase of the 650. We looked into it. The PACE program administrative price, like everything else, is going up. So it was up due to rising costs, and it's actually going to be going up to $850. So that was the response that we got on that. We also checked back with Councillor McNeil. He had said that he had made a request, and he did make the request for BDPA funding for the $2,000. So that is already in there. And just to give you an update on the transfer of the Baddeck Volunteer Fire Department to the Baddeck Volunteer Fire Department, still a couple of tax rulings that are needing to be figured out, and it's been sent to our advisors, and hopefully that will happen in the near future. So a couple of things from our departments. Our August newsletter has been completed. It's been mailed out. It's also available electronically. I'm sure everyone would have received it by now. Communications are also working on our 2024 election planning and preparation. And if you haven't check them out. There's been videos by the warden and the deputy warden, very well done, and our returning officer, Blair Gallup. Thank you very much for that. In our finance department, our tax bill due date has passed. We've been very busy. Interest has been charged on overdue accounts. Just to let everyone know where we're at with tax collections. Currently, we are behind last year's number by about $305,000, and our arrears is behind by $190,000. So I think what we expected to happen based on the current situation of things being tougher over the last few years. To let everyone know, we're now accepting online payments for tipping fees and marketing levy. So please contact the revenue department for more information on that. We're getting lots of calls from short-term rental operators. There is a registration process, and there is a form that EDPC is looking after for us. If anyone is looking for that form, it's on our website, how to contact them. But the email address for any short-term rentals that are looking to get their letter from the county, they should send an email to rentals@edpc.ca. In our waste management department, our tenders for our energy efficient upgrades at all municipal buildings has been posted this week. So we're looking to see if we can get some rebates and to do some energy efficient rebates. We'd also like to remind businesses that if they need to put out extra garbage or recycling or organics or cardboard, we started a tag program in the past. Tags could be purchased at our facilities, and it's $25 for a bundle of 10 to put extra bags out. In our water department, as of August 12th, the Ingonish Waterline project was 100% complete. Straight Engineering will still perform a final inspection and sign off. I think that went really well related to that. In economic development, there was a question from Fraser on the EV feasibility study that is tracking quite well, and the consultants are going to present their findings to council in September, and then again after the election if it's desired by the new council related to feasibility of EV chargers. In our tourism department, so our tourism folks have been visiting and have a schedule to visit newly opened tourism operators, and newly we mean the last 3 years, for a tour and meeting with the owners. So if you have a new business, please reach out to Colleen to get included by our staff members to go out and have a discussion. A couple of other things. Okay, so we've been contacted by Cape Breton Partnership related to the Investor Summit sponsorship. In the past, we've been a sponsor of the partnership. They hold it in Baddeck, or sorry, they hold it in Victoria County pretty well every year. They've asked that we sponsor the boat tour that happens. We did that last year. It has a cost of $3,250 on it. And that is what they are looking for us to be a sponsor on. So if that is something that is of interest to council, I sent out the package that went along with that. We would need a motion on that on that behalf. Another thing, J-class roads. So we received something from the province that if anyone is interested in 50% funding for maintenance and paving of any J-class roads in your area, I sent out the letter and the list of the roads. If anyone is interested in that, I need to submit it to the province by the end of October. So I'll need to get something back from you if you're interested in doing any of those. Just to keep everyone informed, I'm not sure if you received a letter from Minister Lohr. There was some code of conduct information that he sent out. There was correspondence in your package, and we've also included on your tables an appendix related to what the new code of conduct is going to encompass. So just so everyone has that, there's going to be training on it and adherence to a new robust code of conduct for councils. Also, myself and Councillor Daphne have been asked by Parks Canada historian to provide comments as to the Celtic Lodge's significance to the municipality. So if anyone has anything that they'd like to share, please contact either Councillor Daphne or myself related to that. We have to get that back to them. And just another one, I'm not sure if any of you have been on the website, but our travel expense claims have a new look on the website. They're filtered by councillor, the type of expense, the month. It was a lot of work that was put into it. And so it's really, I encourage you to go in and look at that. What I have.
Any questions or comments in regards to CAOs? Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Warden. Just a couple of comments. I'd like to congratulate Jennifer, our PR person. I know you didn't have much to work with, but you made 3 individuals look very, very wise and so on that video series. Well done work. I don't know if they had a script or not, but they did an excellent job. Just on the feasibility study, there was a session on Monday regarding the new federal program, ZVIP. Of course, it's got to have an acronym, the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program. And it's basically talking about installing chargers. The company that supplies them, FLO, I think that's the one up here, is that, and there's one in North Sydney. Some down north too, Larry? Yeah. Anyway, our EDO, Parker Horton, couldn't attend, but he did have some of the consultants that come on the line for it. It's a program sponsored by the federal government, as I said, that will pay up to half of the cost of installing charging stations. The fast charge ones, the level 2 ones, cost $5,000. The level 3 ones, which are fast charge, which means half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, cost $300,000. So I asked if we were to do it, let's say, we would put in $150,000 and the return time when you would make your money back, and they estimated between 6 and 8 years. And the machines have a lifespan of close to 20 years. So, you know, I just, Parker, I alerted Parker to this and he's aware of it, and I'm sure he'll take it into account in the study that they're doing. The only problem is the deadline for applications is September 19th. So there's a very short window. But anyway, there is some interest in, I think governments are recognizing the problem and they are working at ways in trying to solve it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor. Any other questions or comments? Councillor McNeil, something for the CAO?
With short-term rentals, I was in contact with a person that owns a couple of short-term rentals in Jamesville, and he was concerned about, he was looking through the rules on, I think it was on the provincial side, that some communities have to pay $240 a year, while other communities will have to pay up to $500 a year to have short-term rentals. Does that apply in Victoria County right now?
No, currently not. No, I believe that that's probably, as I've heard, Ross may be able to have more comments on that, but I think that that's HRM and Lunenburg areas that applies to. We don't have a charge for that.
Thank you, Councillor, and we should recognize our municipal advisor, Ross McDonald, has joined us for this evening's meeting. So welcome, Ross. I should have mentioned earlier, but you joined us in session, so I think so. Thanks for coming, showing your interest. Any other questions for CAO before we move on? Deputy Warden.
Yeah, just in regards to the motion for the sponsorship of the tour for the Investor Summit, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed to be the sponsor for the cruise for the Investor Summit.
You have a seconder for that, please?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Longval. In favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. Under motions, we won't have to deal with that. Thank you. We had the CAO's report. Thank you, Leanne. We're going on to district concerns. We'll start with district number 1.
Thank you. Just a couple. I wonder if there's any funding available for washrooms at the Port of Iona. It's been a busy summer down there. They probably have to get the washrooms pumped out every 3 to 4 weeks now. If you could look into seeing if there's anything available through tourism or through.
You talking porta potties or?
No, this is their own system. They put a new system in
Okay.
there and it's being used by everybody. now.
Okay, so we'll take that to our washroom
Okay.
committee and we'll have a look.
Thank you. And just one other issue. I've received a number of phone calls about the Mercer Lane confusion on the road with the province, and my understanding with the mailing list too. Some has Mercer Lane and some has Mercer Road. If we could get a clarification on that through the province. I know it did go through probably about 12 years ago. The name changed, and I'm sure it was Mercer Lane that we had on the name change, but I couldn't find it in my emails. But if you could look.
I'll reach out to the
Okay,
province.
thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Organ, your district, please.
Yeah, today I had the privilege of attending the opening of the new digital X-ray facility at Buchanan Memorial Hospital. It's a wonderful upgrade and additional to healthcare north of Smoky. Well, I guess all of our county, because there's people that come over the mountain to use it. I know this is in Deputy Warden Daphne's area, but it's been brought up to me that a couple times over the last little while that an accident has almost happened on Smoky, that people are stopping and what we call is Philip's Nose. to take pictures. I was wondering if there was any signs available. I'll contact Steve, and I urge Larry to do this too, that we could have that says look off so many meters, look off so many feet, so they're not stopping there on the turn. And I'd like to make a motion that I, Council Organ, move that a letter be sent to Lance and Forest asking for enforcement against overnight camping in all provincial picnic parks, and to ask their staff to stop telling people to ignore the no camping signs. It's becoming a serious problem in not only our provincial parks, but Crown Land, wharves, any little look off. People are complaining because there's people camping there and there's no washroom facilities, or they're burning campfires. I know I have a problem in the White Point Road, but it's Crown Land, and they said for me to take license plates and report it. I can't do that if I'm not there 24/7 and they're burning. But if we could have a letter sent to Lands and Forests for the overnight camping in the provincial picnic parks.
Can do that. Would you put that in the form of a motion, please? You got it. Sorry, we need a seconder for that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I should have known you were prepared. Second by the deputy warden. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. And that's for all provincial parks. And
That's all provincial parks.
Yep.
Thank you. That's it for me tonight.
that's it. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Warden. Excuse me. I forgot to mention last meeting, I believe, that I was re-elected to the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board of Directors, in Calgary in June. I have a meeting coming up in September in Ottawa. The deadline to register was August 16th, which was last week. I did speak to the warden, and I'm quite likely going to make it part of a family vacation too. So, you know, some cost arrangements will be worked out or whatever. Secondly, yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I would move that be granted permission to travel to Ottawa in September. All right, thank you. This is going back to a situation we faced before on the McLean Road, and I just want to get some clarity on maybe a possible solution. The little truck, the ton truck or the 3/4 ton truck, does that travel every day with the regular garbage truck? I see it on the route going to the side roads and so on. Does it go every garbage day with the big truck?
That's more than I know, because I'm not involved in the actual dispatch of the trucks, but my guess is yes, that both trucks are out collecting in each area.
Yeah.
That's my,
Okay.
I'm just assuming that.
Okay, thanks, Dick. I'm making kind of a compassionate plea because the resident that lives at the top end of the McLean Road, I drove it today. They did make some improvements, but it probably still wouldn't pass the standards for the big truck as we saw before. But he has no vehicle. He has health issues and so on. And I'm just wondering if it would be possible, and then if you could check this out with Public Works, I'd appreciate it. If it would be possible that the little truck could pick up his garbage.
I'll
It's me,
run
right?
that by Public Works.
Great, thank you very much. That's all I want. Thank you, Warden.
Councillor Longa, please.
The North Shore and District Fire Department was out checking out the water supply in the brooks in the area. So we had a really dry time, and as all the brooks were really low, they noticed and were concerned that the footing of the south side abutment is being undermined on the bridge in Goose Cove by the end of the Meadow Road. I did report this to Steve McDonald. I just would like to have it in the minutes, and he did inspect it and reported it to the bridge engineer, and the bridge is safe, but repairs will be needed and will be done. So thanks to the North Shore Fire Department for that. Heads up. I also reported to Steve that there's a large pothole in the bridge on the Morrison Brook in Wreck Cove that needs to be looked to. We're residents in Skirdu, which I've brought this to council before and sent to Steve, that the sign Skirdu in their community has been missing for a long time and they would like it back. And also there's 2 residents on the North Shore looking for hidden driveway signs because entering and pulling out of their driveways is very dangerous. I also reported this to Steve and he's going to contact Bernie Murphy regarding those signs. Okay, I just got to scroll here. I'd like to take $500 from my district budget if there's any left to take, because I am so generous, to give to the Giant McCaskill Museum in Englishtown. And I'd like to talk about there was a garbage problem with the clucking hen. So the owners, they have a residence as well as the business, and they have 2 separate tax bills for each one. And so they feel that they should have like garbage allowance for both of those tax bills that they pay. And so at this point, they're only getting like 1 allotment. So is that something that can happen for them?
We can look into that as well.
Okay, thank you. I also heard rumor that there was going to be a cell tower put in District 4, but does anybody know anything about that? A cell tower was going to be installed. Is that true? You know?
Just that development in Nova Scotia right now is going ahead, and I know English North Shore in that area is one of their areas that they're looking at. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I haven't heard anything in particular, just that they're improving cell service right across the province.
Yeah, I know they're putting in broadband, but yeah, I didn't know about the cell tower. And I had some residents heard the rumor, so they were asking me. So hopefully it's true. Also, there's a picnic park at the top of Smoky. I also noticed the same thing in Waikagama. And I didn't notice other picnic parks, but those 2 I pulled into, and there's no signs saying it's a picnic park. So with the shortage of washrooms on the North Shore, I always send people to that because it's close to where I live. I say, oh, there's a picnic park at the top of, and then someone said to me, there's no sign there. So I took note next time I drove by that there is a place for a sign, but there is no sign. So nobody would ever know that it was a picnic park, you know, and the washrooms are open there. There's picnic tables, there's a nice hike. And why is there not a sign? And the same in Waikagama. I know where the park is. I pulled in there one day because I know it's a park, but for anyone that doesn't know, they would never know. Like there's no signage. Again, there's a place for a sign, but no signage. So I would like to make a motion to ask staff to write a letter to the province asking why they don't have signage at their picnic parks.
Seconder for that will include in the letter that's going with Jackie, if Jackie's okay with that.
You can add
Yeah.
that into my,
You're good.
And the ones with signs to upgrade them also, because some of them are in really bad shape.
Okay, do we have a
And,
second for Eric's motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Organ, a second, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried.
So is the motions are coming up later on the
Yes.
agenda, is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So last but not least in my district concerns, I'd like to wish a big happy birthday to Kenny McCaskill on his 91st birthday the other day.
Yep.
And that's it for District 4.
Thank you. And
Warden, I think
Yes.
the fire chief has some information on the cell tower.
Oh. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor. We move on to District number 2, Councillor McLeod, please.
Thank you, Warren. I just have 2 concerns. Is some smell, the sewer smell in the lake around the Red Barn, you know, the bridge going to the campgrounds. So I wonder if we can send a letter, maybe with MLA Kit to find out with the authorities. I don't know who can see it. Who's responsible? And I know it's not our jurisdiction, but in North Sydney, when you pass the gas alley, is the same. Like it's campgrounds around, so maybe they need to check it out. What they're doing, because it's very bad.
Okay.
I will make a motion to write a letter to Kit Bank. And what's an advertising? Stray area school board gives some school supplies for their children free. Like the parents didn't have to purchase anything. So I just wonder if we can send a letter to our board, the Cape Breton Victoria Education, to see what it's all about, what Stray area did, and maybe we can start working in maybe next year for school supplies for the children.
Okay, and do we have a seconder for that? Deputy Warden, second, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. Letter will be sent.
And that's it. Thanks.
That's it for you. Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Warden Daphne.
Thank you, Warden. A couple of things. First, I'd like to make a motion that $1,000 from the District 6 budget be provided to St. Peter's Parish for maintenance of their church, which is 111 years old. That's St. Peter's Parish in English Beach. Make that a motion. Second, I'd like to make a motion that a letter be written to a young gentleman in English Beach by the name of Spencer Ferguson. He's taken on to be a weatherman, and he's 15 years old and has made some amazing predictions on weather that has proven correct, better than the actual media out there. But I'd like to have a letter sent to Spencer, just thanking him for his concern and all the information that he provides the residents of Victoria County and how much we appreciate his work.
Very good. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Again by Councillor Organ. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. Thank you.
Now, two interesting ones. I'll also make a motion that we send a letter to Parks Canada Blair Party in regards to wildfire prevention. I think we're all quite aware of what happened in Jasper. And again, I think all national parks are probably in the same boat, especially specifically Cape Breton Highlands. I'd like to know what Parks Canada's plan is to remediate the downfalls in the woods, especially around the entrance to Cape Breton Highlands National Park and around the Celtic Lodge or the Middlehead Peninsula. But I'd just like to know what their plan is based on the what's happened out in Jasper, what their plans are for Cape Breton Highlands. I'll make that a motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Second by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Thank you.
My last one, again, it goes back to our CAO mentioned that Parks Canada are looking for information in regards to the historic significance and cultural significance of the Celtic Lodge Motel. I can tell you that I just last week was shown a video of the inside of the Celtic Main Lodge, and it is totally black, full of mold.
Really?
Full of mold. The basement, it's phenomenal. I could not believe how bad it is. Again, I've had numerous letters back with Minister Gilbert, I believe his name, with Environment. I've shown him a number of different things. I've asked him to look at the contract because, in my opinion, the contract or the lease should be canceled. They have not maintained the buildings, which is required under their lease. They keep saying that they're dealing with Gulf Nort and working with them and have forwarded on my concerns. But I think it's gone beyond that. So I'd like a letter to go to Minister of Environment, Gubero, Blair Party with Parks Canada, and our MP, Jaime Batiste, in regards to the Celtic Lodge and the condition that no one has taken ownership of that building. It's been totally neglected, and any chance of renovating it has probably increased in cost substantially. Yeah. I mean, the mess of it, there's no air circulating through the building. They've put sheets and stuff up on the windows to make sure no air light's getting in. But after looking at that video, nobody should be in that building anymore. It's that bad. And it's a disgrace to the federal government, Parks Canada, and Gulf Nord in particular. But I make a motion that we send a letter asking for immediate response and asking who's responsible for that building and what the future plans are. I'll make that a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Longo. In favor? Contrary minded?
And that's it. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. I have three quick ones, please. One, I just want to recognize the Victoria County Memorial Hospital Foundation. They had a fundraiser here for the foundation, the golf tournament. They raised over $108,000. It's phenomenal. is going to a great. But also just perhaps I'm not sure of the motion, but we had the list of J-class roads. 4 or 5 of them are streets in Baddeck. I think next year I'll just make a motion or a suggestion the next year that some money be considered to put in the budget to do 50% because those streets are literally deteriorating every day. We're a tourist destination, and we've got streets that fit 1880. So I'd like to make that, and we notify or just ask that that be a consideration for budget
Motion.
delivered. It's a motion.
Motion, do we have a seconder for that motion?
I second that.
Second by Councillor McNeil, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion passed.
Had a question, and I'm glad some representatives of the village are here tonight. Maybe they have the answer to this one, but there's some concerns about burning. I know if you received them or not, Chair McDonald, but some burning in backyards after hours. No, and the fire department, and I don't know, it would, perhaps you would, Mr. Green, but you have no authority, or the village doesn't have a bylaw. We don't have a bylaw. I guess it would be enforced by lands or natural resources. Would that be the?
Well, there's a $12,000 fine if you light a fire when $25,000
But if the provincial map says you can burn between, certain hours, but I wonder if, in light of that, the village doesn't have one, and I didn't think they did. I know the county doesn't, and maybe we ask CAO to look at some other municipalities that potentially may have burning bylaws. And I suspect it's covered by the province, but just maybe check and see if there are some out there. Because it is a concern, even though it is that one wouldn't be with district planning, I wouldn't think. But so I wouldn't make that a motion, but I'd make it a request. The other is my last one is a motion. I'd like to send this to Department of Transportation, Steve McDonald, and the minister, that there would be signage from the intersection of Jessica Wong Lane and Old Marguerite Road, and then the Shore Road and Old Marguerite Road to designate that as a hospital zone, and that we can reduce the speed limit from 50 to 30. And I know they have to go through a number of hoops and barrels just to do traffic studies, but at least I would like to make a motion. We send the request for them to consider it and provide the signage and have it enforced.
Motion, have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Second by Councillor McLeod, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion passed.
Thank you, Deputy, and that is it for District 3. Yes, sir. Councillor McNeil, speak into your mic, please.
Wonder if we could write a letter of congratulations to Sloan McKenzie and her partner Katie Vincent on their bronze medal
Right.
achievement at the Olympics. Sloan has a number of relatives throughout the county and District 1 especially. So
Absolutely.
we could
We have a seconder for that, please. Deputy Warden, all in favor? Contrary minded? So we need a motion that we approve the second reading of the water supply and septic upgrade lending program. We had that public hearing earlier. We have a motion to accept that, please.
I make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Longva. We have a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor McNeil, a seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion's carried. We dealt with the sponsorship of the Cape Breton Partnership Investor Summit. We had a request to additions to the agenda tonight from Councillors Longva and Patterson. I'll let you speak briefly to the issue at hand. You have sent some emails earlier that you wanted this brought forward. So we'll start with Councillor Patterson, please.
Thank you, Warden. Unfortunately, I was not in attendance at these meetings. I was ill at the time with the two meetings on the grants. So some of these things may have already been discussed. I apologize for that. I'll try to be short, as Warden said. Just looking at our policy statement. The last section, I don't have the section number, but it's the bottom of page 3 if you're interested. Organizations where services activities include the promotion and or required adherence to a faith. I have 2 questions about that. Definition of faith. I mean, I looked up the definition today and it really wasn't clear to me. And have our legal people looked at it? Because, you know, can we do this? I guess is my question. Just the last part of the emails that I sent out too is a reply from the director of the Hayden Foundation, and he states in his email that the clause I just read include the promotion or required adherence to a faith. We have never promoted or required adherence to any faith. That's his statement. So it leaves some questions in my mind. And I know Councillor Longba has some more information about the Baddeck camp.
I just want to clarify, it's a tax exemption bylaw. It's what I'm not sure if you referenced it or not.
Sorry,
I just wanted to mention that it's the tax exemption bylaw is what you're referring to.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm just going to go to Councillor Daphne for a moment.
I know what you're saying about the faith worship and whatnot, but so for the last couple of years, I've been trying to find out exactly who this organization is because it comes up every year. And I've yet to find anyone that even knows anything about them, or I think you may phrase it because it's in your area, but no one seems to know what they do or what they do. So I did some research online and something called the charitable-impact.com has a list of all the nonprofits and charitable organizations and the Hayden Foundation, Scotia Society. The charity held training events for youth leaders and worship events each month. The charity conducted an addiction recovery program for young women on site called the Hope Project. There was 3 live-in participants, 3 staff workers, and a few part-time volunteers involved in the project. So I'm looking at it saying, you know, people come to the area, they buy 100 acres of land, go get your lawyer, set up a nonprofit. And that's what I'm seeing here, because like I say, nobody knows what they are and what they do. And when I read that, I'm saying, why are we not like I pay taxes, everyone pays taxes. I really don't want to see what service they're providing in Victoria County. And when I read that, I'm like 3 people.
Yeah. What year does that have a year on it, Larry? Does that have a year on it, that statement?
I had a couple of shows of revenue and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah, that's the same. I've seen that.
Yep. So from 2023, that's the same ongoing program. It says that their total non-tax receipted revenue came from outside Canadian sources of $105,000. Their expenses were travel and vehicle expenses of $32,000, and their occupancy costs on that building were $51,000. So there's nothing related to programming. It was a consultant fee also of $1,700. And this is the information that's available online. So they're not generating, there's no compensation numbers that are listed for employees. It is revenue from outside of Canada and travel and occupancy costs.
Good with that, Councillor?
I'm just wondering what the next step.
Should be, because could someone reply to his email? Did I send that email to you and Alex today? I believe I did, Alex, today. I just sent it today. His is at the bottom of that string.
So there was no thread at the bottom. You said that there was, but there was nothing attached there.
Oh, really? I printed them all out. I'll resend it to you. I'll resend you his reply where he quotes what I just said, that they do not or have not promoted. But I think we have other reasons now, because basically.
Yeah,
that's
and their landing page says that they promote Christian beliefs. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just your policy that you
that gets back to
passed.
the policy, I think, is the question.
It does, yep.
This instance, I think, there hasn't been a lot of activity in the last, probably since COVID.
It goes back to, yeah, 2016 was the last, anything outside of revenue from Canada.
So would it, I'll send you and Alex a copy of that email that he sent and you can reply to it?
Yep, so they've also received a letter from us,
Yes.
stating,
He mentions that in his email.
yep,
So, okay, I'll do that.
Right, and the original recommendation was staff is that they not be exempt, so that's the way it should be. Yes,
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up the Cape Breton Bible Camp. It's the only children's camp in Victoria County. It gives children opportunity to socialize, build friendships with their children. It's much more than just a religious camp. They do arts and crafts, they do swimming, they do outdoor adventure activities and exercise, and I'm sure they do even more than that. But they also subsidize children in Victoria County and it's probably not only Victoria County that they subsidize children whose families have difficulty paying for the camp. They subsidize that. And they also host the Atlantic Burn Camp and have for many years been hosting that camp, which is for all of Atlantic Canada, the burn camp. So I think that we should relook at, I'd like to make a motion that we forgive their tax.
A second, that.
Can I ask a question? Since it's a non-religious thing that we are voting against, what portion of the money goes towards the burn camp? If that could be subsidized?
The burn camp actually pays really low rent, like they rent the place. The burn camp rents the place, but they have it at a very low rate. But if they're going to be if they're going to pay their taxes, then it's going to affect the burn camp as well. And it's going to affect children as well because they're going to have to charge more fees, and it is the only camp we have in Victoria County. We hardly have any camps in Cape Breton, but that's the only one in Victoria County.
Yeah, but
yes, please go ahead. Sorry.
we have to stick with a policy, right? So it's about religion. It's about the burning camp. We can maybe make a donation about the burning camp for subsidize the burning camp to they can participate there. But we're talking about $18,000 in taxes. And
it's been forgiven for like since they were there.
So
It's been, and so why is it changed now?
Okay, let's speak one at a time.
times does not carry the guarantee or renewal for each year. So that is not like a
No.
and there's evaluation criteria here to extend, you know, the demonstrate the financial assistance, demonstrate effort seek for funding sources. So there's a list there.
I read the criteria and they meet the criteria under one part, and then if you read back down farther, then it's like it says the opposite thing on the same paper. On one part they say that includes religious organizations, and then farther down, because there's pages, says that they don't. So I just think it's affecting children in Victoria County, not just Victoria County. It's like any children that go to that camp, it's going to affect them. And what other camps, like Choices, do they have? Really, my children went there and they had a wonderful time as children. I went to camp in Orangedale, and it was like a wonderful experience. Like I made friendships that lasted till now at the camp. And I just think that it's really going to hurt that camp doing this.
So the question at the end of the day, does it meet the criteria or it doesn't? We asked, we came up with a policy. We asked staff to review the applications versus how they meet with our policy. So that one, by recommendation from our staff, was it didn't meet the criteria. and they would be required to pay. Unfortunately, it is a great organization, but at the end of the day, it doesn't meet the criteria. So unless council wants to exempt them, that's a decision that have to be made tonight, or if they keep in mind there are others that we made the same decision with and they didn't appeal it. So we understand the value of the Bible camp. We understand why it came forth tonight. So somebody needs to make a motion to exempt them and we'll vote on it, and that gets the issue to the table.
Just
Quickly, yep.
just to remind, like at another council meeting was with the Gaelic College, was late. So the same criteria about if we do one, we have to, we have to.
They
stay-
weren't late.
No, we have to stay with what the policy say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the Cape Breton Bible Camp was not late with their application.
No, it's not about the late, it's about
Yeah.
the sticking the policy.
It's like the Gaelic College was late 2 years in a row.
It's just to
or
stick with the
three,
policy.
But they didn't meet the criteria because they were late. That's so. Somebody wants to make a motion to exempt them, and then we'll vote on it. So it's been moved and seconded, but we exempt. Who's in favor of exempting? Of exempt? Who is in favor of not exempting? So if you abstain, it means a no. So it's 4-3 to exempt. Would you, how are you voting, Jack? So in favor, I just want to see your hands again. Okay, and opposed? Okay, so it's 5-2. We'll exempt the Cape Breton Park Bible camp. All right. Next.
Thank you.
Thank you. We respect the decision of council. Correspondence, I just circulated a letter from the Laser Championships. They were hosted here from Eileen Woodford on behalf of their organization, thanking us for their support. And is there any other correspondence?
Correspondence has been forwarded.
Thank you very much. Committee reports.
Warden, the Fences Arbitration Committee had another complaint in District 2. Without getting into too many of the details, the committee reached the same conclusion as we did with the previous one. The landowner, the owner of the livestock, in a discussion with him, indicated that the fence was collapsed or whatever, and it may have been a bear that did it, and apparently it's possible that a bear would do that or spook the livestock. So the committee wrote a letter to him, to the complainant, saying that no further action will be taken at this time, and we'll see how things unfold with the going into the future with the containment of the livestock. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Any other reports? Going once, going twice. We have a few people here from the public tonight. We have about 10 minutes or so we allocate for any quick questions. Any quick questions? Going once, going twice. We will have a motion. Did you got your hand up in time, sir? Come forward. Yeah, come up to the mic. Come up to the mic and don't be shy. This mic, and just state your name for those that may not know you, sir. Turn it green and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Gary Crowder, former commissioner with the Village of Baddeck and now running as a candidate for council. And I just had a question about the discussion earlier. Would it be reasonable for the commission to come back to council with more information and a few options for consideration at a future meeting, rather than this ending in a sort of a stalemate here, which is, so it's a question and a proposal.
Yeah,
But I can't.
you know, it's yeah, and it's a council decision, and maybe just in light of we're 6 weeks out, maybe that discussion would be best with the new council.
Question
Perhaps.
still stands, and perhaps it's better 6 weeks out. to go.
Yeah, and that's 6 weeks. So I would
Right.
say is that I think we already had the conversation that we ended where we ended, and any further conversation maybe with the new council. Is there anybody have any?
Okay.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor McNeil. Want to thank everybody tonight that was at council and those who joined us.